for money. But then I have to send a check back, or I have to fill out a form and post it to the charity, or I have to go online, but I'm sitting nowhere near to my computer. It has worked very, very well. It still works very well for people over 40 or so, but for young people, they don't really respond to this anymore. Letters are really good to say thank you still, but to ask for money, less so. But we're moving towards online, towards digital. So instead, we are now asking people to give money online, and it feels much richer. This does not feel like a form, like a banking form. It's a child, it feels like you're really helping. I'll show you more about that in a minute. So again, we are moving from paper to digital. Does that make sense so far? So why is digital so good? Firstly, most things are already digital in some way or the other. You all have your phones, your tablets, your computers. When you print something, you have written it on a computer. Most things are already digital. It's much more effective and efficient. I can communicate with loads of people, much more so than if I speak to people individually. It's scalable, so I can invest money and get more and more. I can reach thousands, tens of thousands, millions of people. I can scale it up and reach many, many more people through that. It has a viral nature to it. People share. If I see something interesting, I share it with you online, on Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever technology I use. We always share. It becomes viral. Tracking and data. A lot of this is really important. I can see what happens. I can learn what happens, and I can get better. I'll talk about that much more in a minute. And it means that I can build a long-term relationship and engagement with my supporters. I know who you are. You have given me money. I've asked, I give you something back. And then we have a communication through email, through different means. But I can learn, and you can learn more about my organization. And that is the big difference. So this is how it kind of all started. I'm very old, I have to admit. This is my youth, a big computer on a table. Okay? And then we got credit cards, which is a very old invention and is used a lot in Europe and America, but it is built for big payments in a certain way. It's not really suitable for today's day and age. I do not want to punch in all these numbers when I'm somewhere to pay. It's not a good device anymore. This is how the early digital looked like. This is how you live now. This is how digital fundraising looks. Somebody in a Starbucks seeing something on Facebook or from a friend and going, oh, that is interesting. Yes, I will give money to this charity. They don't want to take their credit cards out. It's all on that device in their pocket. This is how the future is. And the amazing thing in Asia is that you have gone straight there. Here, the mobile phone is at the center of what we're doing in so many areas. When I order a taxi and use Grab, I do everything on my smartphone. No computers. And it gives you amazing abilities as a result. But you need to think about it as mobile first. And again, I will be talking about that a little bit more. So, most importantly, e-commerce is a lead indicator. We can see what e-commerce does, and it means that people are paying online. But it just doesn't mean at the moment, I mean, they're talking about 0.5% of payments are through digital, but it's growing massively. And if you look at certain areas like ordering taxis and so on, actually a lot of people are already using it all the time. So you're investing in the future, you're investing in the new people. So the most important thing within this is what they call m-commerce, mobile commerce. People buy on their smartphone. And this is where you need to be when you want to get money from loads of individuals and when you want to communicate with them. So what do we mean by digital fundraising? These are just some indicators. So the first one is social media is absolutely critical, both in a way where you can take your message out and people will share it, will comment on it, will like it, but also for advertising, and I will talk about that a bit more. So I said, mobile is the key to everything that you're doing. It's very interesting quite often to see when I work with charities that everybody is on their smartphone and then they come into the office and they sit in front of the computer and they change personality. And then they think like the old days, not like they are as a consumer, as an individual. So it's really important to think about what your supporters, the people that you want to communicate with, who they are and what they're doing. And they're not sitting in front of a computer most of the time. They will be on the BTS checking their phone. That's when we want to talk to them. Online giving, I mentioned already before, the forms, how to give people online, and especially digital wallets. So you have Reddit Pay, you have PayPal, you have True Money, all these kind of payments that are very quick and very easy, where people already are using them on a regular basis. How can you use those payment technologies in your campaigns? Email is still incredibly important. It's a really good way of communicating with people, even though maybe only 30% or 40% of the emails that you send out are actually being opened or looked at. But it's very cheap to communicate to a lot of people. But remember, emails are all read again on that smartphone, not on a computer. So don't write an essay this long. I'm going to read one paragraph. I want to see a photo. I want to do something short. Websites, obviously, it's the place where you drive traffic towards, where you get people to take that action quite often. And then data, and I will come back to that again, why it's so important. But with all this, we learn about our supporters, our consumers, our users, and we can get better because of that. So let me share with you some really amazing campaigns. Okay? Mostly digital, but actually I'm starting off with a non-digital one. So I love this one. This is IKEA in Australia. They opened in one of the IKEA shops, they put these cutouts of dogs. They had a partnership with a animal charity that had dogs for adoption. Okay? And they put, I think, 6 different ones in there to find homes for those 6 dogs. The people saw it. They only did it, I think, for 1 or 2 days. They got so much interest that most of the dogs from that dog shelter got adopted within the next 2 weeks. Because it's a dog in the kitchen. It's where your dog is at home. They had other ones on a sofa. It's where your dog at home would be. It's very clever. And the most important thing about this is it's all about the idea, the concept behind it, the idea of what makes me interested in it. If I go into the IKEA and I see this, I'm like, oh, that's interesting, have a look. Yeah, I look at it and say, yeah, I always wanted to have a dog, and it really feels good. It feels fun to see it, and you can see how that combination of this company and this charity works really well together. So the idea behind your campaign is most important. If you do it offline, if you do it online, digital, whatever, it's all about the idea. Ice Bucket Challenge. Who knows the Ice Bucket Challenge? Can I see hands? Okay, most of you do. It's a silly idea. It really is. And it wasn't created by a charity. Somebody started doing this, and then somebody from a charity said, why don't you do this and donate money to our charity, ALS? And it went viral. This is us in the office. This is me on the left. I don't know why I did it, but everybody did it, so I had to do it. Okay? And then people would give money to us, or through us, to ALS. ALS, the charity, raised over 100 million US dollars, but they didn't come up with the idea. But they saw something and they got onto it, and then they started working with it. So sometimes you don't have to think about it first. Sometimes you see something and go, oh, that's interesting, we can work with that. It's really interesting. So fundraising ideas don't have to always talk about your cause. It helps, it's better, but sometimes silly things also work. But you cannot create this. You cannot come up with this idea. It's something that happens and you jump on it. You cannot recreate something like this. So the question was it because somebody famous started this? And the reason is no. It was just people doing something silly. Later on, once it starts going viral, you had Bill Gates doing it. So then you get the celebrities, the famous people doing it. They reinforced it. But when it started, it was just people like you and me, just doing it. Triathlon. This is one of my favorite campaigns. Maybe this is something that only works in Britain and in maybe America and Australia. But this campaign is about not drinking alcohol in January. Okay? It's for a charity called Cancer Research UK. There is no really a connection between alcohol and cancer. It's quite small. So they created this campaign where they got 35,000 people to decide not to drink alcohol in January, and for their suffering of not drinking alcohol, they asked all their friends, family, and colleagues to give money to the charity. That this particular campaign in the first year raised over $6 million. You do not drink for 1 month. And so I don't drink for a month. I say on the 1st of January, I will not drink. And so what you do is you then create an online fundraising page for the charity, and all your friends can give money with a credit card to that fundraising page, and then money goes to the charity. So if you like alcohol, and this is what I'm saying, in Britain, everybody drinks all the time. Not drinking alcohol is really, really difficult. It really is, okay? So if you are saying, I'm not drinking alcohol, it's a huge commitment. It's more difficult than saying, I run 10,000 meters. It's really hard.
Very strange.
It's very strange. It's a very British thing.
Because in Thailand we have a period.
Compensation. 3 months.
It is 3 months.
For the month to say
Yeah.
and one organization has campaign during that period should not drink alcohol.
Yeah.
You also raise money.
Yeah.
Raise money.
You could. I mean, you have in kind of the Western culture, you have Lent, which is for the Christians. They for Easter they don't have a period where they say they don't drink alcohol and so on. So it's not about the alcohol. It's about giving something up that you really like. So this is hard for me personally. This is hard. Not eating chocolate for a month. Okay, same concept, but for me, doing this would be really hard. And so, if I tell my friends I'm doing this, they will give money for my suffering.
How much that most people give to you in case you do this kind of thing?
So these ones are what we call mass participation events. So it's very easy to take part. You get a lot of people taking part, but you only raise a little money. So on average, a campaign like this, you would probably raise $100, $120 for each individual person. But you get thousands of people doing it. A lot of people, little money. With betting.
My friend
Yeah.
not drink.
Yeah.
Yeah, can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it works.
Yeah. So you have to make it work for your culture. You have to make it work what works in your circumstances. These are just examples in that sense. Movember. Do you guys know Movember? Is it big in Thailand? No? Okay.
We only know 11.
No. So this is growing a moustache in November for prostate cancer. And you get loads of people getting funny hair around that in November. And it's the same, you get your friends to give money to the charity because you look a little bit silly for a month. Okay. If you don't like growing beards, how about shaving? So this particular campaign works in every single country I know. This is for a cancer charity. because there is a connection between when you have cancer, you lose your hair. And so as solidarity, a lot of people will do it. So this works really well. I've seen it, for example, in Singapore. This campaign raises millions of dollars. And again, you are getting your friends to give money to the charity for your losing your hair. For me, there's not much to lose. But there are some people with long hair. Like if you were doing it, imagine you were doing it. I mean, your friends would be like, I mean, they could not believe it. Imagine downstairs, how much money would all your friends give for you going through this because you want to raise money for a cancer charity? Yeah. So the question was, how do you find people who take part in this? So we are talking about acquisition and recruitment. And I'm going to talk more about this in a second, because this is really, really important. Having a campaign like this is good, but you need to find all the people to take part in it. And that is the big, big challenge. And I'm going to talk about that quite a lot in a moment. Very good question, thank you. So, why do people donate money to your charity? Why do people donate money to your charity? Can I hear, what are your thoughts? Why does somebody give money to your charity? Need your help, yeah? Empathy, yes? Anything else? Investment for future life. That is very Thai. That doesn't work for most people in Britain. You know, but it's you're absolutely true. So this is the London Marathon that raises over 40 million US dollars every single year by people running marathons and doing silly things like carrying a big box. This box is a shelter box, which they send if there's an emergency somewhere. It basically allows the whole family to live for a month. It comes with blankets and a tent. It's a lifesaver, and they send them around the world. So you run with the box on the back. So all these answers are absolutely right. But ultimately, the reason why people give is they don't wake up in the morning thinking, today I'm going to give money to a charity. They don't. The reason why they actually give is because they are being asked. It's that simple. Your job, if you're a fundraiser, is to go out and ask people for money. Only then they will give. Just because you're doing good work will not get people to give money. You actually have to tell people about it, and you actually have to ask for the money. That is the most important thing. If you do any campaign and you do not ask in the right way, and you do not ask directly, I want the money from you, it will not happen. If you ask the group, everybody goes, oh, somebody will. No, I will ask you. I will really ask you. Then you will get money. Asking for money is how you get money. But this is kind of the really, really challenging part. You need to have the right message. Why should I give money to your cause, not to that charity? So the right message at the right time, when I'm in the right frame, when I feel like it. Because giving money is not a rational thing, it's an emotional thing. I see something and go like, oh yes, I want to help. There's a tsunami. I want to give money because I want to help the people. You need to ask at the right time. You need to ask the right people. The people that are interested in dogs, for example, they will give money to the dog shelter. But people who are not interested in dogs will not. So you need to know who to ask. You need to find out what is your target audience, what makes them tick, what makes them interested in your particular work. In the right format. So if you send a letter to a 20-year-old, they will maybe open it, but most likely they will not deal with it. So you need to have the right format, the right channel, and then you need to use the right channel with that. And that's really tricky. You need to get all these things right. But then you can get the money from people. And there are loads of different ways. And this starts coming to you. How do you find these people? So this is just a graph of all the different kinds of media that you have. And this is just a small snapshot of what's out there. But I'll briefly talk you through it. So you have earned media. So this is something where you have to do it. So it's where you do press releases, where you write blog posts. You do stuff and you kind of have to earn it that people start sharing it. You then have paid media. I will be talking about that in a minute because this is really, really important. You really have to invest to make money. Paid media means you are doing things like advertising, digital advertising in particular. Kind of, then there's owned medias. So this is kind of your own brand, for example. So you can do webinars, videos, and so on. And then shared media, which is much more around social media, but this is about people sharing your content. So you can combine all these different ones, and there are a lot. And the most important thing is to focus on what works best for you. But if you don't invest money, if you don't pay anything, it's really, really hard to reach a lot of people. Because you're competing with all the other companies that are out there. So your donor is a consumer. I can give money to you, your cause, or I can buy a new pair of trainers. That's what you're competing with. Okay? So if you are not good, if you are not investing money, it's going to be really, really hard. But most importantly, your cause is too important not to use the best digital tools out there. Your work is about, we talked earlier, this is about helping children to get into education that otherwise couldn't. It's about finding a cure for cancer. It's saving the environment. It's really important stuff. So you should be the best that you can, because what you're doing is very, very important. It's so much more important than selling more Coca-Cola. It really is. But Coca-Cola uses the best tools out there and they invest money in it. But you're competing against them. So your cause, the reason why your organization exists, is too important. You need to work hard and use those digital tools. Okay. So you were talking about acquisition. So this is kind of where we start getting into some of the slightly more technical details. So the best way right now, pretty much in any country in the world, to acquire, to recruit, to find new supporters is Facebook. By far. And I will tell you more in detail. But this is, a really good advert. It's a Facebook advert. It's from International Rescue Committee, and they support, in this case, children in Yemen. And it reads, "It's a parent's worst nightmare. Your child is sick, but there's no hospital or doctors available to help. IRC mobile medical teams reach children in the most remote area of Yemen. Help us to reach more." And then there's the ask, donate now. Okay? This ad is really powerful because it shows me how my money will help. It has a child directly looking at me. This is the best way of reaching thousands and thousands of people. And then it says, help us reach sick children faster. And when I click on donate now, I get something that looks very, very similar. It's again children. It tells me here, for £53, what I'm buying. I'm not buying trainers, but I buy food for at least 50 malnutrition children. That's much better than Nike's, isn't it? And I can donate right there. So I get the ask on Facebook, while I'm on the BTS. I see it, I click on it, and I can donate straight away. With a credit card, PayPal, I think they also have other ways. Yeah? Yeah. So the question is really, these photos look like somebody in need, and they look, as you said, a bit pitiful, and they give a bad impression of the children. And you're absolutely right there. Unfortunately, this will work 10 times better than a happy child. So when you say you want to have a positive image, then you have to tell that story. You have to tell the before and the after story. How does my money make that child happy? It's really, really difficult. Yeah, so the question was really, it's against their policy to show, in this case, women and young girls in a pitiful state. And so you can use positive pictures. You need to test this. You need to go out and you need to find out what works, what resonates with people. But this is the reason why this is still happening, and this has been going on for many years, and there's a lot of criticism around this. I completely understand it. I know why you don't want to do this. But unfortunately, this is what will help most children, because most people give. And so you have to find a balance. If your policy is you do not show negative images, then you have to make that work for you. And you have to show that if you give money, this is how happy people are. You have to tell a different story. So what I showed you here it's a very, very quick step. It's a one step. There's an advert, and then there's that ask for money. Okay. I can obviously get people to this place by sending emails to my existing supporters, and I can use many other channels. But Facebook is the one that works by far best. You can post something to your followers on Line, for example, or wherever your followers come here, Twitter or whatever you use, Instagram. Now, for more complicated things, if you want more from people, what quite often works is more of a two-step approach. So what you're doing is you're having an advert, and you're having what is a landing page. You send them to a place where you ask them for their email address or potentially their phone number, but just one piece of information. And then you have a thank you page, but also you're then starting to email them or communicate with them. And that's really important for things that are a little bit more difficult to explain. The one I showed you was quite straightforward anyway. But if you want people to do more, you quite often have to involve them more. So you have to talk to them a little bit longer online to do that. And we do this through this process. I will show you the different aspects. So you're doing advertising, you are emailing your existing supporters as well. You capture their data, you capture their interest. They say, oh, I'm interested in this particular issue. So they express an interest, and you're capturing that. You're getting the details from them. And then, once you have the details, you tell them more about it. You send them emails. You maybe phone them. You do whatever is needed to help them understand why this is important and what they should do. So, for Facebook, the most important things are that you can target people that are interested in your kind of area, that have similar interests to where you're working in. Okay? So you can target people based on age, based on where they live, what interests they have, what things they've done before. So I can target people like you because I know, the age range, I know where you live, I might know that you're a student or you have been a student. These information are all on Facebook. So I can find those. Your existing fans, so if you have people that already are following you on Facebook, you can target them with specific adverts. If you just post regularly, those ones are not being seen by people. Only 10% of the people will see it, so you have to pay Facebook for it. It's something called a custom audience, so it's kind of, you can create specific audiences within that. For example, you can use something where you upload all your email addresses from your existing supporters to Facebook, and Facebook will find usually 60 to 70% of these people are on Facebook. Now you know these are your supporters, and you can talk to them not just via email, but you can also talk to them on Facebook, which is brilliant, because you can now send them an email, and at the same time, you can show them an advert. You talk to them twice, because if you just talk to them once, they will forget about it. Okay? So you can use those. And there's something called website visitors, retargeting. When people have visited your website and you have a Facebook pixel on it, but when they have visited your website, you can then show them adverts afterwards from Facebook. So every time I go look at a charity website, within one day, I see adverts. They ask you to donate money because I have visited their page, and then I've gone away, and they go like, "Oh, come back." So they then target me. It's really efficient because these are people. It's like when you go to a shopping website, and then you see adverts afterwards for the same shoes. It's the same concept. And it really works because you then, sometimes you have to see it and remember it a few times. And then what's something called a lookalike audience. Essentially, people that already support you. You can create an audience. Facebook is very clever with that. That are very similar to the audience that you already have. They're different, but they are quite similar. So they are interested in your course most likely. And they are very good because you can convert them very well. So you can target the right audience. When I said earlier, the right people, this is how you find the right people. Try to go to a shopping mall and find people that are interested in dogs. It's very hard. But with this, you can find people who like dogs, literally. Okay. Creative. So this is, when I say creative, this is the advert that I showed you earlier of the child with a little story that I said. So what's important with that advert is, first of all, it needs to have a very strong single message or call to action. In this case, it's help children, donate now. Very simple, very straightforward, very clear. Your ad has to be noticeable, so a bright image, maybe a video, and as you saw with those ones, looking at the camera. Photos where you look, or the person looks at the camera, work much, much better. Always, it works for dogs. Okay, it's not just humans. You have a dog looking at you in an advert. It works much better than a dog looking away. It's crazy, but it's just human nature. We like eye contact. Deliver an emotional reward. I give you money, and we give you something back. The reward is that I'm helping something, and I need to show the positive side of the story. I need, if somebody donates money, you need to tell them and give them something back. It's the impact of the money that you are giving, or they have given you. You need to show that to them. Visual consistency. You saw the advert and the donation form were very similar. Because if I see one thing and I click on it, the next thing I see has to look the same. If I click on an advert for trainers, for shoes, and then I see a page with cars on it, it's not going to work. Consistency is very important. And then a lot of learning. I'll talk about that in a second. Facebook is very good in showing you what works and what doesn't. So this is an example of what you could do with this. 5 different adverts. They all look quite similar. Okay, so you put those out on Facebook at the same time, and Facebook will show them to people. And you say, which one of those are people clicking on? Or which ones of those are people donating, depending on what they're doing. You can set different goals. So you do this, and in this case, the project we worked on was, they spent 30 euros, so not a lot of money on it. And based on that, they could say which adverts would work much better. So now we know that there's a group of those ones that work better. And in this case, this is for a running event to take part. So here we are looking at runners in Budapest. People who like running and who live in Budapest. We can target them. These are not people that are already supporting my course. These are people that are running. I want the runners to support my course. And we use something like lookalike audiences, which is, as I said before. So we have these 3 ads. We learned from the first round that these ones are the better ones. Now, which one of these 3 ads do you think performs 10 times as good as the other ones? Who thinks advert number 1 on the left is the best by far? See hands. Who thinks the one on the left is the best of those three? Nobody? Which advert works the best? Second one? Anybody thinks the second one is best? Yeah? Or the third one, the guy running, because we're on runners. So it's really, really hard to know which one works best, and in particular, which one works much, much better. And the winner of those three is the beautiful lady. I don't know why, but I can tell you that Facebook tells me this one has, this advert got 10 times, 1,600 clicks versus 1,132. I get 10 times, 12 times as many people responding to this advert. But would you know this? No, you cannot know this. But Facebook is really good. It shows this advert to thousands of people, and the people click on this advert. Brilliant. Now I can spend more money on this advert because this one is the good one. This is product that sells. It's very difficult to do this by asking people. Here, you find out because people take an action. If I ask you, do you like this or that? You say one thing because I'm talking to you. But if you're actually clicking on something, you're responding to it, that's the real action. That's very different. Okay, so this is great stuff. You can use Facebook, finding the right people, getting the right adverts, and driving traffic to your campaign. You can then use something called lead forms. So when I said, it's a little bit hard to see, but on the left you see the advert. You can then have a screen on that, and then in the middle is where you're asking for the email address. This is a lead form on Facebook. All you're doing is asking somebody for their email address. Give me your email address so I can tell you more about the children and how we help, or how you can help. And then you have a thank you page at the end. All I'm doing with this is, instead of asking for money as I did earlier, here, within Facebook, I'm asking for your phone number or for your email address, because you're interested in what the work I'm doing. And once I have your contact details, I'm going to contact you. I'm going to communicate with you. I'm going to tell you all the amazing things that you can do by supporting my cause and help those children. So this works within Facebook. This one to set up takes about 2 minutes. It's super fast. You don't need any technology. You don't need anybody else. You can do that yourself for your organization. This is why it's so good. You can learn this very, very fast. Alternatively, this is one of my favorite things. They're called landing pages. And we use specific technology for that you use online. You can just subscribe to it for a few dollars. And what it does, it creates a nice little form for you. Again, you don't need to speak to your IT department or somebody in digital. You can do this yourself. You can sign up online and you can create these pages. And the reason why you use something called landing page software, it's something that's just in the cloud, it's kind of online, is because it's super targeted having a landing page. There's only one thing. If you look at this page, all I'm asking you for is your birthday and your email address, because I want to communicate to you around your birthday. There's nothing else on there. It's literally give your birthday to my organization. That's all I'm asking for. So it's really targeted. No distractions, nothing else around it. It's really good for search engines. So when somebody Googles something, they can find this page really, really easily. It's really good for advertising, so your advertising costs are much lower. And you can do easily retargeting, what I said earlier. Somebody looks at your page, you can get back to them quite easily. So landing pages are really important. Your website is most likely not suitable for that. Okay? I'll talk about this a little bit more because this is really important stuff. It will transform how you run campaigns. So the second part of that is the right tools. So on the right, these are just some of them, but there are loads and loads of those out there. And you go to the website, you sign in, you can use it for 2 weeks for free, and then you have to pay, but you can learn around it yourself. The reason why these are so good is because they have one single purpose, which is to collect somebody's email address or their phone number, and then, especially with email, to email them afterwards, to take them an action. It's what you use there for a lot of shopping areas and so on. The reason why this is so good is it automatically works on smartphones of all different kinds. You can do testing. So I can on this one, for example, I can use different images. And I do exactly the same with Facebook as I just run those and we'll see which image works better. It does that automatically. It allows you to easily set up and make changes. This is kind of what we talked internally about at UNICEF, was no dependency on technology. It has the form already built in, and it works really, really well with marketing automation. So once I have the email address, I want to start emailing them, which is the second part. So I can set up a simple flow. I have your email. Now I set up an email and I send one day after, 3 days after, 5 days after. And I don't need any technology knowledge for that. I can do that myself. So I'm getting a really good experience. It's really it responds to interaction. So I can send different emails to people that open, click, or take an action. So I can do really, really amazing things with that. So the people that always read my emails, I can send special offers. The ones that don't, I can deal with in a different way. So I can nurture these people. I can get them from, I'm a little bit interested, to I become a supporter. I might volunteer. I might give money. I might do something. I can nurture them. I can send them loads of things. And I can make it very personal so that they don't, it's right for me, for that person that reads it. And I can kind of segment it so only certain people get certain emails. So it's a really powerful tool to use. Yeah. So you said you're nervous giving your birthday and your email. So this one is specifically around the birthday campaign. So you need to reassure people. But it's about what we call a value exchange. So I give something back. You give me your email address and I will give you something in return. And I have to make that quite clear. I need to give you an incentive. So sometimes these can be things where, for example, it works in many countries where some charities do guides for parents, parenting guides. And you literally produce a document for parents, for new parents, and you target new parents, and you say, do you want to have this piece of information? And they will give you their email address, because you will send this. And then you have their email address, and you can talk about children. And then you can talk about, you have a child, but think about the children in the other countries that are really not doing well. So you're giving it in exchange the brochure versus the email address. So you need to think of, why would somebody give that email address? Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. So these are some. How are we doing for time? How are we doing for time? Okay. So, how do you create amazing campaigns? So these are some principles, some ideas coming more from somebody who has worked for technology companies that I have. And the reason why this is important is because, as I said before, you need to use the right tools, but you also need to behave in a different way. Remember, we want to cure cancer, we want to save the world. Okay? So you can't just sit there, typing a little bit and whatever. You really need to do great things. So these are lessons learned from working for a fast-moving technology company. So again, think a little bit like a Grab or like a TrueMoney or whatever you have here. That moves very fast and uses digital technology. These are just some ideas, but it's really fun stuff, I promise you. It's not too scary. The first thing is what we call this co-create. The idea behind co-creation is that you work with people to find out what's the right thing. So instead of you sitting in your office with two colleagues thinking, I wonder what a good campaign could be, is you go out and you find people that you want to be part of your campaign. You might be interested, or in your case, you might want to work with the people that you're actually helping. Ask them what is really important to them. So instead of you just going like, I think this is what we should do, it's like, ask the people that you're helping and co-create together a campaign because they know better, because they're affected. And you can then tell authentic, real stories. So create with people, not just internally in your office, making assumptions. It's a really important part. For that, you need to have the right people. If they're all the same people, they all come up with the same ideas. So you need to have a diverse group of people with different ideas. Sometimes there's some conflict, but quite often you're hearing things that you never thought of because you're in your own mind. The other thing is, for the campaigns that I'm talking about, you can run an amazing campaign with 2 or 3 people. You don't need 10 people. All you need is 2 or 3 of the right people. Find those people that really want to do something, that understand digital, that are passionate about it, who really want to do something new, who want to reach out to the 18 to 25-year-olds, because these are the ones that we want to get right now. So work with the right people, think hard. It's not as many people as you can get, but the people that really make a contribution to what you're doing. Flexible working. So especially for things like coming up with ideas, it's really hard sitting in your office. Ideas don't come by you sitting there on your desk. Okay, it really doesn't happen. They come sometimes in the shower or wherever, but you need to be able to work in a flexible way. There are loads of things. There's something called walk and talk, for example. It's a great way. You want to have a meeting with 2 people, go for a walk, because then your brain works in a completely different way than sitting in your slightly stuffy office. Okay? It also means that you might not want to, you might want to sit in a cafe. You go to Starbucks with your laptop and you just kind of work there for some time because it's a different environment. So think about different ways of operating. And within that is also using different tools. So we use a lot of sticky notes. Do you know what sticky notes are? Yeah, Post-its. Yeah, Post-its. They're fantastic. We literally keep the technology set that keeps 3M and these companies in business because we do whole walls of brainstorming, stick up all these things. And then we reorder them and they're like, this is a good idea, this all works. So using sticky notes and using whiteboards to write stuff on it, it's very difficult to come up with ideas sitting in front of the computer typing something. Flexible working. Get out of the office. Do things in a different way. Learn those processes of how to do that. The right tools. Okay, this is a real bugbear of mine. There are so many organizations that use tools that are just not fit for purpose, that are just not right, that are somewhere there because the organization has always used them for a long time, but they don't really help you to do your work. So find the tools that work best for you. So these are some of the tools that I would like you to consider. Okay, you're using Line to have a Line group, and you exchange ideas, or you're using that as a way of communicating with people in your office, or people, maybe some of your supporters, or whatever it is. Use chat in some way. Do you know Slack? Have you heard of Slack? It's a business version of Line in a way. It's absolutely fantastic. And it means that you don't need to email people. I've worked with a company, I did a project with a company in Singapore. We had 2 emails. One was where they sent me the contract and set me up on Slack, and there was a final one at the end of the project. We did not send a single email, because email is a very bad communication tool within the office. Slack, chat, and business chat is so much better. It changes the way that you operate, it changes the way that you think, because it's less formal. I can just say, I just had this idea, and then people go like, oh, this is great, and oh no, I'm not really sure how we can do it, but you get people to have a conversation online about things. Or, oh, I just had this call from a supporter, and she was asking this question, I don't have the answer. But you have all these other people who go like, oh, I know what we can tell that person. It doesn't work with email. It really doesn't. So Slack, Line, whatever you want to use, it's fantastic. The best tool for me in the world, G Suite. So Google Docs. Who uses Google Docs? Okay, quite a few. So I work remotely. I work with people around the world, and we create documents, presentations, proposals, briefings, whatever it is, and we co-create them, we write them together. But it doesn't work if I have a Word document. I email it over to you, then you make some changes, you make some changes, and then we have 3 different versions, and we go like, oh, hang on, it doesn't work. If you have it online, we can change this at the same time. I have built presentations on the phone with somebody, and we would literally both type in the same document at the same time. I write something, she writes something, we change something, and we do that in parallel. We collaborate together. That's how great ideas exist. So if it's your Word document, your presentations, your spreadsheets or whatever, it's all there. It also comes with something called Drive, so you can save all your documents together. No more of this. Can you please send me over this document? Why do we email documents? We put it in a place where everybody can see them. We have those 50 photos, all the photos taken today, put them into one single space so everybody can see them. I need a photo for using on that Facebook post. I need to send it to somebody else. They are there. No emailing of this stuff. Just put it where everybody can access it. Then you have other things with that, which is kind of Meet. It's essentially the same as Skype. I personally use something called Zoom. I live by this tool. It's just video online. I mean, you have it online as well, but this one obviously works in a slightly different way. And it means that I can invite people, and I have a meeting with somebody in Japan and somebody in Geneva, and we all just call in over the computer or over the smartphone, and we have a phone call, but with video. I can share my screen, so I don't need to send something around. I literally go, look, I have this, and I can present to them. In fact, I do a lot of my training using this tool. So instead of standing here, you all could be sitting in front of your computer or your smartphone, listening to me presenting this from home. So video conferencing, however you want to call it, is absolutely fantastic. So I don't have to be in the office. My office is a laptop. That's it. So Zoom or whatever is good. Two other ones I just want to mention: Salesforce.org. So you need a CRM. You need a system where you keep all your contacts of all your supporters. And Salesforce is one of them. And they have a free version for charities, but they're different ones. It's just kind of one to mention. And then something little fun, Unsplash. Every time you do a presentation, you need nice photos, and you can Google them, but it's really difficult to find the right photos. And you are not allowed to use most of the photos you can see on Google. You can use them, but you're not supposed to. Unsplash is a website where people upload their own photos and you're allowed to use them for free. And there are fantastic photos on there. So it's just a tiny tool. It only does one thing, but I use it all the time because I do presentations all the time and I need to find the right photos all the time. So use these kind of tools out there. A lot of them are free. Even more of those are free for non-profits. Really, really good stuff. Don't use your laptop, Microsoft documents and stuff. It's not really good anymore. So we use these tools because we can now collaborate. Okay. 10x thinking. So every time I go to work with a charity, I ask them, so you did this campaign last year. What are you planning for next year? And the story I hear is, the economy is really difficult at the moment. So we want to do as well as we did last year, or maybe if we can do 10% more, we're really good. And I'm sitting there going like, hang on, you want to cure cancer and you're telling me you want to raise 10% more next year? How long are you going to, that's going to take you forever to get any money, okay? It also means that my mindset, I'm thinking about, I'm doing the same I did last year, okay? I'm doing it a little bit better. I found a few more people to give us money. So 10x means 10 times. What do I need to do to get 10 times as much, because it means I need to do radical big change. But, we look at this stuff, we need radical big change. So, you need to change your mindset, and you need to help others to change their mindset. And you have to think, how can we get from here all the way to the other side? Not just by little steps, but by taking humongous big steps. So maybe instead of me spending all the money trying to get my message out there, I speak to DTAC. It's a mobile phone company, it's a technology company, has millions of users. What can I offer them? What do I have? What problem can I solve for them that they take my message and send it to all their customers? And I don't have to pay for it. Okay? That's 10x thinking, because the same reach they have, for you to have, is going to be very, very expensive. You can never afford it. So partner with somebody that brings you all the way to the other side. Really important. 80-20 rule. It's a bit tricky as well, because it means really that 20% of your effort result in 80% of your outcome, which also means that 80% of your effort is pretty much wasted. It's very, very difficult because you don't know what the 20% are. But whatever campaign you look at, you will find out that you spent all this time doing things, but actually it was only 2 or 3 things that make all the difference. For everything you do, pretty much, and it applies to most things in life, in fact, there are very, very few people, few things, 20% of things, that make all the difference. So think really hard, focus. What are the 2, 3 things, that partnership or that one thing I need to get that will make my campaign fly? Because all the little things, I'm just going to get us a little bit further. Does that make sense? Have I lost too many people in the room here? Okay. Let's keep going. Agile. So, things are changing fast. Really, really fast. Things that you had a month ago, or definitely a year ago, are completely different nowadays. So, if I use the same ways of working, the same way of thinking I had 5 years ago, I'm out of date. Everything is changing so fast that as an organization, I have to be able to respond to things much, much faster. And there's something called agile methodology, but essentially it means don't wait for change to happen to you. You have to be in control of the change because it happens very, very fast. So be agile, learn to move fast rather than just do the same things again and again. And with that is something called test and learn. This is a really, really important thing because it's what I started talking about earlier with Facebook, for example. It's starting off with what you want to learn and create tests around that. It's very difficult to know where you want to be and set out the whole path. Most of the time, it doesn't work, or it doesn't work very well. It's one thing if you want to build a big skyscraper, you need to plan everything through. But that's usually not what we are doing, especially not when we are doing digital. Because, as I said before, those adverts, I don't create all my adverts. I create the first ones, and then I test them, and I learn, and then based on whatever works, I do the next thing, and the next thing, but it's always based on what I'm learning. So this is one of the best books ever. I'm going to give one away in a minute. It's called The Lean Startup by someone called Eric Rice. And it talks about the test and learn approach. To some degree, it's nothing new, but he has put it together rather nicely. So, actually, you're starting kind of on the left in your thinking. What is it I want to learn? And I start off with essentially a hypothesis. So in your case, I'm going to show the happy image and another image. I show two different images. And my hypothesis is this one is going to be much better performing than that one. It's a hypothesis. It's an assumption. I don't know if it's true or not. But I want to find out. And the only way I can find out that learning is to take that idea and build something, to create something. I show this advert to people, and then, once I've created this, I get the results. 90% of the people like the first photo better than the second photo. Okay, so I've learned, I have my hypothesis, and you can use this for everything that you're doing. Instead of creating everything from the beginning to the end, just work your way through. So, instead of building a whole communications campaign from end to beginning, from how I find the people to what I want them to do, what I give them, how they interact, all I can do is start off with the first one. I show them something, and I find out, do they like it or not? And if nobody likes it, I don't need to do the rest. I can stop here and say, well, this does not work. So I've just saved 90% of my effort, of my money, because I found out that this product I'm selling, or that service, or whatever I'm offering, nobody's interested in. Great. So I spent 10% of my budget, and I find out that this is no good. I throw it away, or I rebuild it in a different way. It's very important, because we don't know these things in advance. So, and what we want to do is minimize the time of learning. So we're creating very, very small tests all the time. For email, for example, we do tests based on the subject line. So I can use two different subject lines, and I can say, this subject line of my email, I think is going to work better, and I try a second one. I send it out to 1,000 people, and because people only read the subject line, I find out that the first subject line of my email is not that good, but the second one is better. Great. So now I know the second one is better, and I use that, and maybe I take a different version of that. I change it a little bit, and I have again two versions. Send to 1,000, and I find out that the version 2A is better than the version 2B. And I can go on and on and on, always changing it, always learning. And the difference that this makes is unbelievable. It will make the difference of an email being read, the difference between 5% reading the email and 40% reading it. Just by going through this. For digital, this is what every single digital company does. In fact, there are thousands of versions of Facebook out there. There isn't a Facebook that, as you know it, there are thousands of different versions. This is what they're doing all the time. And you can do the same, sometimes using those tools that I've shown you, but also in your thinking. So, I have one book, this is in English, to give away for the person who comes up with the right answer to this question. Okay? So, tell me the answer to, oh no, hang on, sorry, one in between. This is a slightly different one. So, this is a Facebook post. We use this to say thank you to somebody and then to ask them for their details. Okay? Which one of those two do you think works better? So who thinks that the one with a slightly longer copy and the beautiful dog looking at you, who thinks this is the better response? Okay? Who thinks that the shorter one without an image works better? You think the picture? Okay. So the answer is that it depends on the context. So if I have a post on Facebook, always use an image. This is being used to say thank you to somebody personally. And the goal when we say this is actually we want to give you to click on this link and give us your email address. This one is great. People look at the dog, they see the thank you, and then they go on. They don't read the copy up because they look at the photo, they don't read it. No photo, now they read it. It's counterintuitive. We tested this first because we thought this is really good. And then we tested this because we test stuff. And this performed twice as good as this one. Okay? So with the same effort, I get twice the result. That's brilliant. It's one simple test. So, test. Okay. Right. Okay, attention. So, here is to win a book is, the question is, I hope I got this right. Oh no! Why is it not in there? Oh, damn. Oh, it's slightly different. Oh, okay, so we're not running on the version. Okay, so then I ask the question. What is the fastest growing social network this year? Next one. Come on. Line. Next. Shout it out. TikTok? The winner is TikTok. So TikTok is the fast. You know TikTok because it's actually come from Asia. Enjoy this. This is a fantastic book. You will really enjoy this. I promise you. So TikTok is the fastest growing app at the moment in social network. It's the ones in the Apple Store. It's the fastest downloading, more than Facebook, more than Instagram, more than anything else. 500 million users. This thing didn't exist 3 years ago. 500 million users. They're mostly young people between 18 and 25. So if you want to target young people, this is a great place to be. I haven't really seen many campaigns on there, but when I said be agile, this means being agile. This is happening. So what is your organization doing just to test, maybe just to learn? Can you create a channel? Can you get your supporters to do something silly for you on TikTok? Sing a song, whatever it is. So how do you use this to learn? Because it could be the next thing. And if you are there first, you can build a huge audience. Yeah? So keep an eye open what's happening. But it's really interesting that TikTok, at least for me, didn't exist a year ago. It was just like it's this weird thing. I don't understand what it is about. And now it has exploded. So it's really interesting. Okay. Data. So this might sound a bit boring, the data is really, really important. All the things I said earlier about the learning are all about data. Finding out what people are doing, what they're reacting to, how much they're giving. Data is your best friend. Without analyzing your campaign, without saying, this is where we want to be, and now we're halfway through the year and we want to be somewhere else. You have to understand what it is. So my recommendation is if you can, hire a data analyst. They are amazing people. They look at stuff and they tell you things that you never thought possible. They're really, really amazing. But if you can't, learn about it yourself, because it's really fun, and I tell you why. So there's one thing where I said you want to get these big, big changes, but at the same time, you also want to do all these small changes that I was talking about. So this is one example. This is a campaign I was working on, and this is in German, so ignore the fact that you can't read it. But the challenge is, how do you get people to give more? Every time they come to your site, you want them to give more. Okay? So we did a data analysis. We just looked at, in the last year, how much was the average donation? Okay? And the average donation for this was 42 euro. 42 euro. And so you can look at, you had loads of people donating 10 euro, and you had some people donating 100, but it was also that a lot of people would donate lower amounts. Okay? So we thought, I wonder what happens if the average is 42. What if we set the minimum amount, kind of the one that people feel comfortable with, to 50 euro? Why don't we do that? What do you think the result was? Oh, everybody selected the 50 euro. And so, by doing this one single change, looking at the data, and then going, let's test this, we increased the average donation by around 12%. Okay? We haven't done anything. We literally spent an hour looking at some data, and then, let's just try this, and boom. I mean, you can spend all your time running and doing hard work, or you find some things like that. I mean, 12% on an increase just by one single thing. And, you know, we had like 5, 6 different ones throughout that we could find. So think about what people are doing, look at it, where they're coming from, your Google Analytics, all this kind of stuff, and learn about it. It makes a huge difference. Okay. So this is a bit of a risky one. There are 2 risky ones, but so we call it better done than perfect. Okay. There are a lot of people trying to get something really, really right, and they spend a lot of time with it. And the problem with that is you quite often don't know what perfect even means. And most of the time, getting something about 80% right for most of the stuff that we're doing. I'm not talking about your finance and accounting, let's get it about right. That's not what I mean. But if you do a campaign, quite often you can get things about right, getting out there. So because you're spending so much time to get it perfect, you can do 3 times as many things, 80% right, than getting one thing 100% perfect. So be prepared not to be perfect, but moving fast, because change is fast, and we need to change the world for the better very fast. Okay? Ooh, this one is a scary one, okay? It's called, this was one of the things that were kind of drilled in us in the old company, is ask for forgiveness, not permission. Ask for forgiveness, not permission. There's some, you need to know, understand your boundaries. You need to understand what you can do and what you can't do. But too many people spend their time being too careful and going like, oh, I wonder if this would be okay with my boss. And 9 out of 10 times, there's the choice. Either it doesn't work and nobody cares, or it does work, in which case people go like, oh, this is great, let's learn more about it. But yes, know your boundaries, but go ahead and do things. Don't always ask, and help your line manager, your boss, your CEO, whatever, to understand this. You need to own your own thing. This probably still exists, but in the early days, there was something where every tweet had to be signed off by a senior person. Okay? So imagine you're the social media manager. You're responsible for communicating through all the social media channels, if it's Line or whatever. And every time you want to get something out there, which you should do about, every day, possibly even twice, you need to get somebody to sign up and say, this is right. Okay? How frustrating is that? And then something happens out there, and your manager isn't there. And you go like, but it's really important, we need to respond to this. And you can't. So you need to be able to do this. I'll give you one example of this. There's another campaign, it's a little bit similar to the Ice Bucket Challenge. It was called the No Makeup Selfie. And it was similar, it was kind of women starting to post photos without makeup to make a certain point. And at some point, somebody from Cancer Research UK jumped on there somewhere at like 10 o'clock in the evening, social media manager, and she said, why don't you do this and ask for donations for our charity? She just did it. And it started to take off in the same way as No Makeup Ice Bucket Challenge did. They raised 8 million pounds through that because somebody went out and just did it. And then they invested money and they did loads of other things. But it was because the social media manager at 10 o'clock in the evening while watching TV saw this and were like, oh, I wonder what happens if I respond to that. So you need to take risks. Take enough risks. It's a bit scary. Okay, we are coming towards the end. Very, very important. Say thank you to your supporters. They give you money, they give you time, effort, whatever they are doing. You need to say thank you. You need to tell them how they're helping you. Okay? So, towards the end, stuff that you can kind of all use for free. So these are various conferences, all online stuff that I briefly wanted to mention to you. There's one that Sukush knows about as well, fundraising online. Sorry, you're going to get all this. I'm going to give you a link to all this in a minute. So I should have said this at the beginning, I'm so sorry. So fundraising online, it's an online conference. It has amazing talks all about how to raise money online. There's another conference similar to that. There's something called the Non-Profit Innovation and Optimization Summit. It's quite geeky. It's all about technology stuff, all free. TechSource Global Summit. If you want to learn more about some of the things I talked about, it's in Bangkok every year. It's an amazing technology company, and you hear from some of the leading digital technology companies in the world what they are doing, and you go like, we should do these things. They're doing it, and we can do the same things, even if we're doing it small with our budget. The Web Summit, this is another version of that. There's one in Hong Kong of that. And then there's kind of the lean startup stuff that I mentioned before. There was a conference last month. All their talks are online. So this is just conferences. And then kind of some resources. There's something called showcasing of fundraising, innovation, and inspiration. There's Facebook Blueprint, which is all the stuff that you want to learn about Facebook for free from Facebook. You can learn that. How to learn Raise Through is another program. How to raise money online. Beth Cantos is a hero. I had some present with her. She's amazing, great blogger. Something called Digital Maturity Matrix. If you want, as an organization, to learn more about digital, this is a great tool to look at where you are, and it walks you through how you can get from an organization that maybe doesn't use technology in the right way to one that can become more mature. And then there's one kind of fun thing from Charity Water, which is how to use virtual reality to show the impact of your donations, which is very good. Right, resources, you get all this. Okay, this is not the version. No, this is the version I said just before. Okay. You can email me on marco@relishingdigital.com, and I will send you the presentation with all the links in it, and you can use it yourself. So it's marco@relishingdigital.com. And it feels like I've been talking a little bit too long here, but right, questions.
มีคำถามไหมครับคุณมาโก้หาตัวยากนะกว่าจะหาที่นี่ได้ใครมีคำถามเชิญนะครับมีคำถามไหมอยากรู้อะไรเป็นพิเศษไหมครับเกี่ยวกับ Digital Fundraising กับ Communication
What is the one thing of all the things I said that you thought was vaguely interesting and possibly helpful in your job?
มีอะไรไหมครับที่สนใจเป็นพิเศษที่คุณมาโก้เล่าให้ฟังขอสักความเห็นหนึ่งไปได้เลยครับได้ครับ
ส่วนตัวของคุณมาโคค่ะว่าเวลาเขาได้งานมาชิ้นนี้นะคะเขาจะเก็บไอเดียของมันยังไงดีเราอยากทราบ
The question is about what you mentioned about flexible thinking. You said that you do not have to be, on the table all the time. Yeah, you get some assignment. If you're not thinking of, creativity, what are you doing? You get some assignment. Want to have a flexible thinking.
So for me, you have to find your own way. Loads of people work different ways. So for me, going to the gym works. Literally being on a treadmill, just going like, because your brain thinks in a different way. You can't think in a kind of certain way. Your brain starts going in a different way. You might find that going to a forest or a park somewhere or to meditate might work. You might find that you have a friend that you can discuss this with rather than doing it in your own brain yourself. But you have someone, you're like, I have this idea or this assignment, I'm thinking maybe I'll do it this way, and I'm thinking this is, and then the other person goes, but have you thought about this, and what if you do that? So you might find that discussing with somebody works better. So you might find that drawing things work. So there's something called mind maps. Yeah, do you know mind maps? So mind maps might be a way of getting things out of your brain onto paper, so you can kind of, or as I said, post-its, or there are different processes. So you have to find out for yourself. There isn't a one way works. But what usually doesn't work is staring at a computer screen. It's not a creative space.
มันต้องไปหาของตัวเองเป็นยังไงผมเคยถามเพื่อนๆที่ทำแคมเปญให้ว่าเวลาประชุมเป็นอะไรไม่เคยได้แคมเปญแล้วก็จะถามว่าเฮ้ยอยู่ได้แคมเปญตอนไหนเขาบอกว่า creative director ส่วนใหญ่บอกว่าส่วนใหญ่คุยไปคุยมาเนี่ยคิดไม่ออกเลยไปได้ความคิดตอนเข้าห้องน้ำเดินออกไปเข้าห้องน้ำปุ๊บกลับมาพรีเซนต์ได้อีกแล้วบางทีเราต้องออกไปที่อื่นๆนิดหน่อยเพื่อ refresh ไปลองหาว่าตัวเองจะใช้วิธีแบบไหนทุกคนไม่เหมือนกันนะครับบางคนชอบไปยิม you have to like to go to gym right get some fresh idea
That works for me. But the other, I mean, for me, I need somebody to, for me, collaboration works much better. I sometimes have some people I work with are very good in taking my thinking and putting into proper words. So I literally have a call with somebody, and as I said, we built a presentation together. We were doing the assignment together, and it seems that I do 80% of the talking, and the other person is kind of more capturing it, and then we discuss it, and that we are creating it together. It's our thing, but it works for me. So
จริงก็เนี่ยนะจะหากลุ่มพวกเนี้ยแล้วเราต้องบางทีคุยกับคนที่เคยทำมาแล้วบางทีมันมีอะไรขึ้นมาก็ได้มีคำถามอื่นอีกไหมครับอยากรู้เรื่องอะไร
Can you please elaborate more about the 80-20 rule you mentioned?
Yeah, so what happens most of the time is that most of the effort that you're putting into something is wasted. Yeah. But it's really difficult to know which one works and which one doesn't. I mean, this is like super simplified. But if you're a football player, you spend most of the game running around, a little bit useless, not doing much. Okay. You sometimes are in position so that something doesn't happen. But it's only some of the time where it really matters, and that is where you need to kick in. But so you can use some of the data things I mentioned to you before. It's kind of really trying to understand what drives it. So, for example, we've tested in many campaigns, how do you recruit new supporters? And so you can use Google AdWords, but it's responsive, so people have to search for it. So you can't scale it up. But we've learned that Twitter doesn't convert. We can put adverts on Twitter, but it doesn't do anything. LinkedIn is a business network. It's very expensive. It doesn't really work. We've done all these things, and we found out that actually all that matters is Facebook. So this is the 80-20. You can do all the other things, you can spend money on it, but none of it makes a difference. You need to find out what are those things that make a difference.
So you kind of believe that in every organizations, there's a learning process that in the end you finally come up to the final that 20% that matters. So is it kind of an acceptance that not all your hard work is gonna be transparently, shown the outcome? So it's a matter of accepting that fact, right, in order to work efficiently.
Yes, I mean it's a reality. Yeah. It is a reality, and so you can look at it and you can ignore it and say, well, I've spent all this time, I've worked really hard, but it has made very little difference. Although it's not an end point, it's constantly moving. So it's not where you can go, well, we've looked at this and this is the result, because next time you're doing it, it will start changing.
So instead of work hard, you have to work smart. About 20% of that.
Yeah.
Find 20%.
Yeah.
And you can work smarter than
But-
and work hard.
Yeah, but it is the work smart. I have seen so many people in the office who are incredibly busy. They're really busy. They're always running around. They're always doing things. And then you look at, so what was the result of your work at the end of the month or the end of the year? And you go like, very little. So they've been very, very active, but the output of their work, the outcome of their work is very little. So we need to work smart.
ก็ดูเวลาแล้วใกล้เคียงนะมีคำถามไหมครับได้หนังสือแล้วต้องถามเยอะหน่อยนะ
Thank you for the presentations. Just like to, from your experience in terms of doing the advertisements, if it is like the photographies or comparing to like storytelling, like video ads or short films, what's the effectiveness of the different tools that you can use?
Yeah, so video works well on social media. It's short video most of the time, and so I'm sorry to say, but you have to test it. This is the answer. So I went to a presentation the other day, which was about video, to get from video to people to give every single month. And they've done loads of different things. And they said, well, usually, the video has to be like on Facebook. It has to be like around 30 seconds long. Okay? It has to be on Facebook because on YouTube, my interaction is different. So the same advert or different versions of that on YouTube don't work. On Facebook, they work. Then they had something where one of their clients, one of the charities said, oh, we want to do something else. We want to do a longer one, 90 seconds. And they were like, nobody watches something that long on Facebook. And they said, well, let's do it. And it worked super. So although that we know that short videos with high impact work really well, in that case, the long video worked much better. If you can't produce video, then photos, but they need to be, they don't need to be high quality photos. They need to be authentic photos. They need to be real. Stock photography isn't, you know what stock photography is, so the ones that you can buy from that. They are perfectly shot. They look the right angles and everything, but they're not people like you and me. And I don't react, nobody reacts to those. So you can, again, this is your best device. It's high quality and you can just take photos of whatever work you're doing and those ones work better. But again, you need to try different ones. I mean, there are certain rules that I mentioned before. Looking at the camera is good. Less people is good than more. So it's one thing rather than loads of things. Moving images, this might sound a bit odd, but I don't mean video as such, but you can use slightly animated things. There are little tools out there where you have a photo and it literally just looks, it's like moving, or you're having a photo with a waterfall in, and you can get the waterfall to move. It's a photo, but it's really a GIF where this is moving. It's what gets people attention. We call it stopping people from scrolling. So on Facebook in particular, I'm scrolling through it all the time. And it's like, how do you get somebody to stop for a second and then, oh, this is interesting, and they watch a little bit of it. So there's not one single answer, but there are certain directions that you can get. And so that means that you with the things that I just said, it probably puts you like 60-70% ahead, and then you test different things and see where you are. So we tend to know what doesn't work for sure. But a lot of this stuff is online. You can sort of Google it and just look at what the big brands are doing.
ก็เวลาเขาใกล้เคียงผมเชื่อว่ายังมีเรื่องคุยกันอีกเยอะแล้วก็สิ่งที่คุณมาโนเล่าให้ฟังนะที่ผมเคยเห็นในหลายประเทศเนี่ยพอเดี๋ยวมันมาเร็วมาก behavior ของคนรุ่นใหม่จะเปลี่ยนเร็วมากมือถือมันจะเป็นทุกอย่างของเราแล้วพอเด็กรุ่นใหม่เปลี่ยนเราก็ต้องเปลี่ยนนะเดี๋ยวนี้เราก็อาจจะไม่เป็นกระเป๋าตังค์แล้วต้องใช้แบบดิจิทัลก็นำไปไหนก็จะมีตัวโค้ดตัวอะไรแล้วทุกอย่างมันอยู่ในมือถือหมดรวมถึงมหาลัยของเราเองตอนนี้มหาลัยห้องเรียนก็ไปด้วยมือถือใช่ไหมจะคือหลายเรื่องมันต้องเปลี่ยนแล้วองค์กรหน่วยงานที่พวกเราทำเนี่ยถ้าเราเรียนรู้ไว้แล้วไปก่อนเนี่ยมันก็จะปรับให้เข้ากับดิจิทัลที่ฟังมาเนี่ยดิจิทัลก็ไม่ใช่เฉพาะ tools กับเทคนิคมันต้องทำให้เราเข้าใจ behavior เข้าใจ mindset แล้วเราก็ต้องเปลี่ยน mindset วิธีระดมทุนความคิดของเราเปลี่ยน behavior ของเราให้มันเหมาะกับกลุ่มที่จะมาสนับสนุนพวกเราด้วยก็วันนี้ก็ขอบคุณคุณมาโก้มากนะ Please give me big applause to Marco.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And if you have any questions, you have my email address. If you're running a campaign, just email me out. I'll happy to.
How many times you get in Bangkok? How many times a year?
Well, probably twice a year, I think. But again, this works all remote because most of the people I work with are not in London anyway. So we can do this with all the tools that I just mentioned. So feel free to get in contact.
ค่ะก็ขอบคุณนะคะท่านทั้งท่านอาจารย์สิทธิ์แล้วก็ท่านวิทยากรของเรานะคะในโอกาสนี้นะคะขอเสียงปรบมือให้กับทางวิทยากรทั้งสามท่านแล้วก็เรียนเชิญทั้งสามท่านด้านหน้าเลยค่ะในโอกาสนี้ก็ฝากเรียนเชิญผู้ช่วยผู้คณบดีนะคะฝ่ายบริหารนะคะท่านอาจารย์ดร.สานิต หนูดินนะคะมอบของที่ระลึกให้กับท่านวิทยากรค่ะมิสเตอร์มาโครคันเซน thank you ค่ะคุณ
Thank you very much.
สุกิจอุทินทุนะคะ ค่ะท่านผู้ช่วยศาสตราจารย์ดร.สุภาวดีขุนทองจันทร์นะคะในโอกาสนี้เรากราบเรียนเชิญทุกท่านที่เข้าร่วมเสวนาวันนี้ถ่ายภาพหมู่ร่วมกันดีไหมคะเพราะโอกาสที่เราจะบินไปลอนดอนโดยที่ถ่ายท่านอาจารย์น่าจะยากเรียนเชิญเลยค่ะเซียวโฟโต้กรุ๊ปเรียนเชิญค่ะทุกท่านทุกท่านเรียนเชิญค่ะก็ขอบคุณท่านผู้ร่วมเสวนาทุกท่านเลยนะคะสูงเลยไหมคะไฟปิดแสงโอเคปิดแสงได้ค่ะเรียนเชิญทุกท่านเลยค่ะก็ขอบคุณทุกท่านนะคะที่มาร่วมเสวนากันเนาะเรื่องระดมทุนงานเพื่อสังคมยังไงก็ยังเป็นงานที่เราก็ยังต้องทำกันต่อไปนะคะไม่ว่าโลกจะเปลี่ยนไปแค่ไหนงานเพื่อสังคมงานเพื่อการพัฒนาก็ยังจะต้องยังคงอยู่นะคะเรียนเชิญทุกท่านเลยค่ะถ่ายรูปร่วมกันนะคะค่ะข้างบนขึ้นได้นะคะโอเคขึ้นได้ความกว้างพอไหมคะโอเคค่ะขอบคุณทุกท่านนะคะ
Sit. We're doing this work. We're going to do a Wi-Fi. It's a big. Oh yes. It is right. Which way? We're going this. You need to see yourself here. So all works. Okay. Going in. Okay. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Climb up. Boop, go. 1, 2. Fantastic.
สื่อดิจิตอลนะคะเพื่อการระดมทุนนะคะค่ะสำหรับท่านที่ยังไม่ได้ประเมินนะคะก็รบกวน